Pay attention to the man slumped at the table. His name is Kenneth Harwood, a circuit court judge, age 61. His career rests on harsh sentences, delivered without visible doubt. Pay attention to the woman in the corner. She is not here for lunch. She has a purpose, and she will not stay long. She stands, walks to the table, and holds her hand over his glass. The movement is small and practiced. She leaves as quietly as she came. An hour from now, the judge will not rise from that chair. The reason for what happens here began 2 years earlier, in September of the year 2006, inside a county courthouse. The defendant was Raymond Poole, age 24, charged with robbing a convenience store. He had no record of violence. The defense asked for leniency, noting that the gun was unloaded and no one was physically harmed. Judge Harwood denied the request. He chose the maximum available term, 12 years in state custody. In the front row sat Raymond's aunt, Denise Poole, age 39, who had raised him since he was 11 after his mother died. She shouted once at the judge. Bailiffs removed her. No charges were filed. For the court, the matter ended. For her, it did not. For 2 years after the sentencing, Denise kept a steady outward pattern. She worked as a medical records clerk. She paid her bills. She visited her nephew once a month at St. Clair Correctional Facility. Friends later told investigators that she became withdrawn. In early 2008, she stopped attending church. At work, she asked specific questions about courthouse routines and staff schedules, saying she might apply for a job. At home, her computer recorded a set of searches that pointed one way. How much cyanide is lethal? Cyanide detection time. Undetectable poison signs. Where to get potassium cyanide. She did not know it then, but that trail would be read back to her. She understood the judge's habits. To act on her plan, she needed someone inside the place he frequented. She chose the bartender, Sharon Vickers, age 33. Late in February of 2008, about 3 weeks before the death, Denise approached Sharon after her shift outside the bar. She introduced herself as Raymond's aunt and offered $2,500 in cash to put something in the judge's drink to make him ill. Sharon refused and did not call the police. Denise returned twice and raised the offer to $5,000. Sharon again refused to place anything in a drink, but agreed to a different task. She would notify Denise when the judge was seated and the room was quiet enough to act without being noticed. She later said she did not believe Denise would do real harm and that she feared consequences if she reported the approach. On Tuesday, March 18th, in the year 2008, the message went out. He is here. 2 other customers left. Just me and kitchen. Within 20 minutes, Denise entered the bar. She took a corner seat near the hallway, ordered a coffee, and waited. The judge sat alone and drank. He finished 3 bourbons. His movements slowed. At 10:35, he rested his head on his arms. At 10:42, Denise stood and walked to his table. For about 30 seconds, her hand moved above his glass. She did not speak to him. She returned to her seat, then left the bar at 10:48. The glass stayed near his hand. More than an hour passed. At 12:37 in the afternoon, the bartender checked on the judge. She shook his shoulder and called his name. He did not respond. At 12:39, she called for emergency services. Paramedics arrived and pronounced death at 12:52. The first impression fit a common story. A man known for heavy drinking died in a bar, but responders on scene noted that the lips and fingernails were blue, there was a little froth at the mouth, and the skin felt cool. Those details did not match a simple heart attack. Police secured the room, took the unfinished bourbon, and collected statements. Sharon said the judge had been alone and that she had not seen anyone approach him. The case changed 2 weeks later. The medical examiner reported a fatal concentration of cyanide in the blood. Tests on the bourbon glass showed cyanide residue. Detectives reviewed the chain of events with this in mind. A woman had approached the judge and moved her hand over his glass. Her car had been seen a block away. The plate traced to Denise Poole. On March 22nd, investigators brought Sharon back for a second interview. They presented phone records showing multiple calls and messages between her and Denise, in the weeks before the death. Faced with this, Sharon changed her account. She admitted she had agreed to notify Denise when the judge was seated and the room was clear. She said she did not know about poison and believed Denise planned only a confrontation. She also said she was afraid to report the approach. On March 25, police arrested Denise at her home and charged her with capital murder. She invoked her right to remain silent. The trial began in November of 2008. The prosecution presented a straightforward chain. Motive began with the 12-year sentence in 2006. Premeditation was shown by her search history for cyanide and detection windows. Opportunity was established by the visit to the table. Coordination was supported by messages and calls with the bartender. The bartender testified under a cooperation agreement and described the arrangement to send the warning when the room was quiet. The defense replied that a strong story was not the same as direct proof. No cyanide was found in Denise's house, car, or personal items. The video did not show a substance entering the glass. The searches could reflect anger and grief, not a plan to kill. Without the physical source of the poison, the defense said the case rested on inference. The jury deliberated 6 hours. They returned a verdict of guilty of capital murder. In January of 2009, the court imposed a sentence of death. Consequences for others were limited. Sharon received a plea to lesser charges and a suspended sentence with 3 years of probation. She left the city. Raymond's sentence was unchanged. The bar's reputation collapsed and it closed the following year. Appeals by Denise were denied. One central question remained unanswered. Investigators never proved how she obtained the cyanide. That is the sequence. A severe sentence in 2006, 2 years of quiet planning, a warning message in the late morning, a brief visit to a table at 10:42, a death declared at 12:52, a conviction in November, and a death sentence the following January. The supply line for the poison was never found.